Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and you know what time it is, and we're gonna get our midweek magic on. This week's midweek magic is going to be a draft of the Brothers' War, and for some this is going to be old hat, and for others this is going to be a first time seeing the limited environment. So we are going to do our best to tackle it from both perspectives and give some useful information to both sides of the coin there. But before we get into all that, allow me to do the awkward thing and promote the channel. A while back, one of my viewers was kind enough to point out that we are the only channel putting out timely midweek magic content. So be sure to subscribe right here at the Planeswalker Stronghold for all of your future midweek magic needs, because we will be bringing you a deck list or strategy every single week. So what do you say we put all this aside and just get to that? The first thing to keep in mind about the Brothers' War limited environment is the inclusion of the retro artifacts bonus sheet. That meaning that a common out of every pack has been replaced by one of 63 curated artifact cards from all over Magic's history. These have varied impacts on the limited environment. And of course, all of my patron supporters are getting access to all of my thoughts in the form of a spreadsheet showing each and every card, its impact on the limited environment, whether it's been reprinted, preemptively banned, etc., etc., etc. So if you are not yet a patron supporter, definitely give it some thought. It's well worth $1 a month. You'll hear me say very often that one of the best ways to prepare for a limited environment is to know about the combat tricks that are going on within that. So in order to filter your view on that, you're going to want to select both the collected and the not collected options. In case it's early in the season and you just haven't picked up some cards, you don't want a blind spot going on just because you literally have not added the card to your collection yet. Then you would select the set in question, and for limited, what we're really interested in is the commons and uncommons, and of course we want to go instants, and that is going to bring up all the things here. And the other thing you want to do is use the phrase until end of turn. And that will basically narrow everything down to your combat tricks. So as you can see here, Lorne's Espionage is a big one, giving hexproof and indestructible with a bonus of Scribe 1 on that. You will see this from white decks very often. Ashnod's Intervention, you might recognize this from your starter collection. Not only does it give a temporary boost to power, but if the creature dies, it returns to the battlefield, and of course ETB triggers are a nice thing within this set in some cases. Disfigure is pretty much just a removal, but it does happen at instant speed and will on occasion work as a combat trick to help you or your opponent win a particular combat encounter. And Moment of Defiance is a nice little combat trick. Given that it's 3 mana, you won't see it quite as much, but target creature gets +2/+1 and lifelink until end of turn. The nice upside on this is it does draw you a card, so using this to win a combat and add a card to your hand, very, very nice. From here, Whirling Strike, this is one of the premier red combat tricks that you'll see. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. This one can blow some things out, particularly if they're just chump blocking something. The trample is really what makes this work so nicely. And Mishra's Onslaught, you see a little bit less, but the fact that it's modular makes it pretty good. 4 mana is not really where you want to be on a combat trick, though. But creating 2 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens is a nice way to produce chump blockers if you need it. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn, so it can be a nice alpha strike thing if you've got enough things and have gone wide, adding +2 to those unblocked things where an opponent thinks they're going to be safe, survive the combat, and then kill you on the swing back. This is a nice way to flip the table on them just out of nowhere. Giant Growth, it's a classic 1 mana +3/+3 to a single creature. Pretty solid. I think everybody's familiar with this one. And Gaia's Gift, I think this is in the +1 Matters deck, the Growing Hope or something like that. From the starter deck, it's a 2 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains Reach, Trample, Hexproof, and Indestructible. Try saying all of that without breathing. It's probably the best green combat trick. You're going to see this a lot more than Giant Growth. Now, the other potential thing you want to look for are creatures, again in that common and uncommon, and you want to search up items with flash. And as you can see here, there's 3 potential creatures to keep in mind, because of course a flash creature can come down mid-combat. Ambush Paratrooper, very nice, white soldier, good stuff. Zephyr Sentinel is a flash soldier. Again, it also has flying, as does the Paratrooper. And another flash flying blue creature, 5 mana this time, a 3/3. Also creates a Power Stone. Power Stone probably not very relevant within combat, but flashing in a 3/3 flyer can be pretty substantial. One thing to really keep in mind, and something that I used on occasion, is being able to flash in an ambush Paratrooper and then using its 5 mana cost ability to give all your creatures +1/+1 until end of turn can kind of give you a pseudo alpha strike, or something you want to keep in mind that your opponent might be doing if they have 7 mana in late game.
Next up, let's talk about the limited archetypes and strategies for within the set. And to start that conversation off, looking at the Signpost Uncommons, the 2-color gold cards that are ubiquitously included in just about every set these days. You can see here that nearly every single one is every single one is a positive impact on win percentage, and that can vary from about 7 percentage points to 0.7 percentage points. If you are only drafting this within the confines of the midweek Magic, or if you have drafted this particular limited environment pretty extensively, i.e. you're not a new player, the best advice I can give is to find the open lane and draft what is coming to you as best you can. That is generally good advice when it comes to limited environments for experienced drafters. However, if you are new to this limited environment, drafting in general, or you are looking to add long-term value and start building playable decks, I suggest soldiers be your primary avenue here for Brothers War Limited Environment. Of course, that is strongly supported by the 2024 starter decks, and picking up a few essential cards here will either make your existing deck better or allow you to get into the even more budget-friendly mono-white soldiers. Similarly, green-white artifacts is already creating a strong budget deck potential now that it has gained some support from Wilds of Eldraine. And also, red, white, go wide is a very good strategy here. It is both fast within the limited environment and may allow us to rebuild the red-white starter deck that, well, frankly, leaves a lot to be desired. I'm sure that you noticed that all three of those recommended archetypes include the color white, which makes your early uncommon picks shifting towards white a very viable strategy. Static Net and Combat Thresher are both very solid uncommons that will help get you wins. Similarly, Recruitment Officer and Lay Down Arms, both of which you have 2 copies in your starter collection, are solid picks towards moving towards that previously mentioned budget-friendly mono-white soldiers deck.
And now let's talk about soldiers specifically in the Brothers' War. Starting the conversation off is the uncommon Recruitment Officer. This is a very strong card. I think it is a 3, if not 4 of in the mono white soldiers build. I would pick those up aggressively, whether you are playing this event as a standalone event or whether you are looking at this for long-term value. On the other hand of things, you have the other 1-drop, the Survivor of Corliss. The first strike on this makes it perfectly fine for limited. You've got 3 copies already in your collection from the starter deck, and probably adding a 4th one is not doing a lot for you. From there, we move directly into the Frontliner, and while this card does not do well, surprisingly, in the limited environment itself as part of the draft mechanics, it is a very nice piece for mono white soldiers. So if you are looking for that long-term construction value, certainly consider picking up a couple of these to add to your collection. From there, we've got the cohort, which is probably better in limited than it is in constructed. You already have 2 in your new player experience, and as far as 4-drops, it can get a little crowded here. A 3rd would probably not hurt anything, but is not necessarily a high priority pick at all. Moving into the non-white colors, if you're looking to stay Azorius soldiers, keep in mind you already have 2 copies of Zephyr Sentinel in your new player experience starter deck collection. A 3rd is, once again, probably not a terrible thing, but ultimately may not be where you want to be. This is a card that may end up just getting cut from Azorius soldiers, depending upon what else you're able to add to your collection. Now, if you are looking at a prowess build, Wing Commando is one of the only blue prowess things going on in standard right now, so it's not a very strong choice. Looking at red, one thing to keep in mind if you're looking at that red-white go wide strategy and you want to do a sub-theme of the soldiers, Rock Hunter is surprisingly good. Its reach and ability to trade up significantly for a 2-drop is very, very nice. Most of the other red cards are not worth having. The Tactician, the Azorius Soldier Signpost Uncommon, you've got 2 of these in your starter collection, and ultimately I think that is going to be the right number for Azorius Soldiers. Maybe a 3rd copy, depending upon what else you have going on in your individual collection. The white-black soldiers deck is very hard to pull off and probably not really significant in any kind of constructed meta. I would probably pass this one by. 3rd, Path Iconoclast. Of course, you've got a couple of these in your starter collection. It's a solid deck and it has some potential, but really it's kind of hard to pull off from a balancing standpoint, so this would not be a tier 1 choice for me. And of course, then we got your Vanguard in the red-white Boros Go Wide deck. This one is pretty solid and a good choice overall if you're looking to rebuild Boros as a go wide deck, because the equipment starter is not that great. On the other end of the spectrum, literally the Spectrum Sentinel as a 1-drop is a limited only card and not a particularly good one, even in a soldier's build. This is maybe a 23rd card at best. Black and green are kind of non-traditional soldier archetypes within the Brothers War Limited. I think the two things really worth mentioning is Emergency Weld. It's a fantastic common. In Limited, I would strongly suggest at least one copy of this in any black deck. It does create a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature token, which might potentially fit into the archetype. On green, I would suggest Perimeter Patrol, not necessarily to build a green-white soldiers deck, but if you are interested in building that green-white Artifacts Matter deck, this is a pretty decent common to fill out some of those slots that maybe you don't have all your tier 1 choices for.
And of course, in the idea of putting my money where my mouth is, I am going to close out this video with a draft and deck build in which I applied these types of strategies. The deck that was built ended up going 4-3, so it is very viable to do decently well in this limited environment with these strategies. And of course, if you are playing this strictly for the midweek magic, getting those 2 or 3 wins should not be difficult at all. When in a more competitive quick draft environment, you are having a winning record.
Well, pack 1, pick 1 very rarely addresses the commons and uncommons, but this definitely does address the rares. Rare dual land is definitely something I am happy to take. And a Cindermaw looks like a pretty good pickup here. The Thopter mechanic also very, very solid. And, well, frankly, I'm having a little trouble deciding which way I want to go there. I think I'm actually going to go with the Thopter mechanic. I think it's the slightly better card. In fact, I'd say it is the best card in the pack. So that is where I'm going to go with it. And wow, Keeper of the Cadence, definitely not the best card in the pack. Nor is Arms Race, and I already have 3 on that, so I feel pretty confident about being able to coast in there. Symmetry Matrix, I apparently have not picked up a single copy on this, and in fact I'm wondering how accurate that really is. Actually, those numbers look pretty accurate for this account, so let's see here. What do we take? Mightstone's animation is probably the way to go here, and we'll go ahead and snatch that up. The uncommons just really are not doing enough for me at this point for me to pick those up. Tactician is probably the best card here. Excavation Explosion also very, very good. I might take the Levitating Statue here because I already have a Mightstone, and I do need a couple more of those. Springleaf Drum I'm just not terribly worried about. I already have 1 for my Brawl set, and a bunch of packs are going to get opened, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 65 or so total packs for this set. So I feel pretty confident I'll pick up some more of those. Levitating Statue does some work for me today, though. Cooldown is pretty good. Take Flight feels like the correct pick here, although Swift Spear also very, very good. I think I'm going to take the Swift Spear just because I know I want that for my collection, even if I don't play it today. Metamorph, probably the best card here, and I think that's something I'm willing to go ahead and pick up a playset on just to make sure I have that in my collection. And let's see here, Sigil not very good. In fact, really, Perimeter Patrol and Cohort are probably the best cards here. And I think Cohort is probably the way I'm going to go here. That potentially does a lot of work for a Soldier's deck. And I think Survivor is probably the correct pick here. I don't need the lanterns. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm full up on excavation. So let's go Survivor here. Maybe we are shifting towards white. Lauren's Escape is a solid maybe, although I probably am going to take the Evangel here, even though I know I'm not going to play it in this deck. That has the makings of a decent budget deck, depending upon what happens with Sheldred moving forward. Swift Boots, I have 0 copies on this account. Spectrum Sentinel is not bad. I think Ambush Paratrooper is probably the better card here, though. Just straight up. Perimeter Patrol also pretty decent. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Paratrooper here. Another 4th copy that I just don't have to worry about that anymore. Do I take a Keeper of the Cadence? Why did this not show back up? It is not doing the thing here. Awesome, that's okay. Let's see here. I mean, really the only thing that I'm interested in here, honestly, is the Paratrooper. I don't see good reasons to shift over into red. Power Plant Worker is a definite maybe. Latinum, actually, that could be a decent card here, and definitely something I want to add to the collection. And let's see here. I mean, I'm going to take the Bitter Reunion just to add it to the collection. I don't think that is going to get played today. Swift Spear is looking kind of doubtful too. Another Paratrooper. Is this card just not as good as I think it is? I mean, we have 3 of them. Race to the Ground, sure. Not sure we're going to be in red. Harbin, absolutely gonna take the rare. No doubt about that. A Cloud Key, I have 2. So is there an uncommon here I'm really willing to take over that? About the only thing might be the rock, and wow, I don't actually have a full set of rocks. So yeah, I'm gonna pass the Cloud Key here and take the rock instead. We are definitely shaping up to a pretty strong blue deck here. Wing Commando would be another solid addition to that. The Steel Seeker also really good, but I'm probably not in green here. How many Wing Commandos? I just have the 1. This is tough. I think I'm going to take the Steel Seeker here and just know I'm probably not playing it. And Air Marshal is a pretty solid card here. Emergency Weld is very solid. Liquid Metal Coating is probably the highest value here. And with 3 copies, I'm just not worried about that at all. Here, I guess I'm going to take Air Marshal. That feels like the correct thing here. And Desynchronize is the only blue card. Audacity, I've already got a playset, so not a lot of need on that. I think we take the Chanter. Maybe we end up with a little red going on here. Gruesome Realization would feel like the correct pick here, honestly. Or I could just take the Ornithopter. I mean, technically it is playable in this deck that we're putting together. So yeah, I'm gonna use it on the Ornithopter. It might not get played, but neither of the uncommons are very playable here for me. Transmutation Altar, I've got 1 copy. Dreams, I have 0. So do we take that? I mean, Scatter Ray is pretty darn weak. Debt Charge Colossus even more so. Alright, I'm going to take the Dreams. I don't think it's going to get played today, honestly. I no longer need the Evangel, so no need to take that. Here, I'm going to take the Haywire just on
the uncommon value, because, well, actually, I'm going to take the Chanter, because maybe that does a little something for this particular deck. Machine is probably the best card for us, although Perimeter Patrol is very good as well. But clearly we're not in green right here. And yeah, I think we're going to take Machine just to try and get our spell count up a little bit. Stone Retrieval maybe is the correct play here. I'm also thinking about Mind Worker as a possibility. Lawrence Escape is probably the better card, so I think that's where we're going to go right this second. I don't know that that's going to end up getting played for us. Disenchant, pretty darn strong here if we end up in white. I feel like we're solid blue, but we're kind of splitting the white and red back and forth. Here I am going to take the value on the liquid metal coating. I do believe that is more value to my collection than the Firebomb. So there we go. Audacity, I've got everything. I think I take the Survivor here. I'm actually a little surprised to see it this late. And do we take the Savant just to have a playable blue card here? I think we do. It's not good. I'm probably not going to play it. And Mishra's Onslaught to wrap up Pack 2. Okay. Tatiana's Command, I wish we were in a deck where we could play that, but it's probably not going to happen. Let's go ahead and drop Steel Seeker down. The Command, oop, just kidding. Command, and I think Brushland is probably out. Fourth Rare, definitely snatching that up. Makes me feel better about passing that Cloud Key earlier. Ivory Tower, I don't think I need on this. Why am I not? Oh, well, it didn't update. That would be why. Okay, so I think we've got 4 copies on Chanter now. So we're looking at a Combat Courier. I think that is the play. And let's lean in. Oh boy, Dissident. There's a couple really good commons here, but I think I need to take the Dissident just on the value. Queen is a possibility, but honestly, I don't think that's going to get played here. Let's go ahead and drop that down. And what do we got going on here? We got another rock. I don't think I need that rock, but it is pretty good. Cavalier also pretty good if I end up in white. Yeah, all right, we're gonna take the rock here. We might accidentally win some games with this deck. It could happen. Here I'm gonna take the hero. I know I'm not playing it. I have accepted that. But Harbin could work pretty well in this if we go blue-white. So that's a possibility. Mass production for soldiers. Yes, I think I will take that. Absolutely. Excavation, we have the full boat on. So do we take another rock? Or we could take the Elsewhere Flask just for the value. I don't think that does anything for us today. Power Blade is pretty weak, even in the soldier deck. You know what? I think I'm taking another rock. I'm not sure I can play all 3 in this deck, but it could happen. Retrieval Agent or Sentinel, both pretty decent for the soldier deck, but not great by any means. Shoot Down is obviously the best card in this pack. I'm going to take the Sentinel just because I'm trying to clean up my uncommons here. I think red is pretty solidly out of the game plan here.
which is unfortunate with all these chanters and whatnot. But we want to build that deck anyway, so that's okay. We can do that. Why won't my onslaught move? There we go. And the old brush lands, that needs to get out of here. So once again, we are looking at a nice blue-white deck. Do I take the mass production over? I mean, I think maybe we do. I mean, I like the Mightstone's animation. Chaplain is really good. I mean, I kind of want to take almost this whole pack. Even the green cards are really good. Not that we can go green at this point. I've got the one mass production. I don't think I can do a second one. I think a second animation or maybe a chaplain might be the best cards here. And all right, I'm going to take the animation. And here, I think we take the Vanguard. Feels like Head and Shoulders the strongest card. And oh look, a Vanguard or an animation. This is actually kind of a tough choice, but I think we take the 2-drop here. I've already got 2 animations loaded up, so I think we go with that Vanguard. And this is definitely Cavalier. I mean, all right, I'm going to take Splitting the Power Stone just for the value to the collection. I don't think I'm playing that. And I guess we are forced into a Bonesaw. Another card I do not think I'm playing. All right, so the AI deck helper was a little off. There was a couple cards it didn't pick up. Combat Courier, for instance. It also wanted me to run 8 and 8, and for some reason splash the brush lands for not playing any green cards, and that just didn't make any sense to me. So I have gone a little off script here. I did cut one of the paratroopers, which might be a mistake. That might be something to maybe go back in and address. I am running all 3 of the rocks and the Cavalier. Maybe I should cut the Adapt and run the Paratrooper instead. Kind of a tough call.
And hey, just in case you didn't catch all that, Matt would like you to know that the deck list that we discussed in this video is going to have a link down in the doobly-doo to take you over to EtherHub, along with a link to any other alternative list that you might wish to consider. He only asked that you give it a little thumbs up when you're over there checking out the deck list. And I plan on live playing this event on Wednesday at 11 a.m. over on my Twitch channel. So definitely stop in and check it out. Because the Stronghold is so much more than just a YouTube channel, and you can find links to all of our other social media outlets in our profile. Because at the end of the day, we're all budget players. And as a community, we're stronger together. So like, comment, subscribe, follow, do all those things to show a little love. It's appreciated more than you know.